What's up everyone, Robbie from the Warren here. Today I've got a bit of a different style video for you all. I'm actually going to interview one of my good friends, Dom Smith. He's a drummer, a blogger, and he owns an established online magazine. He's basically just an all-round awesome dude. So I hope you enjoy it, I hope you learn something new. Let's do this. Right, so I guess we'll just start with you introducing yourself.
Alright dude, yeah man, thanks for having me. My name's Dom Smith. I work on Soundsphere magazine, get to live my dream every day. Travelled around the world covering music festivals for the last 10 years. Been all over the world and get to interview bands, so like everyone from the 1975 to Rammstein, all from being based in Hull now. So yeah, we've kind of been based in Manchester and Chester and America and basically all over the place, but now settled down in Hull. I also get to do loads of cool work with the Warren. Some people might see me about occasionally wobbling around, do some stuff for the media room and some stuff with the new music team. So yeah man, it's amazing. It's a wonderful job and a wonderful thing to do. So yeah, Soundsphere, it allows me to live my dream, definitely, and I do occasionally get to tour around the world with my band, the Parcel Twins. So yeah, we've done Europe and Asia, and that's pretty cool as well. As you know from being a drummer yourself, it's pretty cool to get around and be in bands and write about music and stuff. And obviously, yeah, it's a dream come true for sure.
So what actually gave you the idea to start Soundsphere? Where did it come from? I've read online that it was a student project that's obviously got way out of control. So just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah man, that's a wicked question. So basically I was doing a master's in magazine journalism in Preston, and I wanted to do an alternative culture publication for the north of England. And then basically we got some funding. I pitched for some funding after I finished my masters, and basically because it was such a cool idea, it started way more alternative. If you go back into the history, we were doing a lot more alternative sort of stuff. We were interviewing like bands, but like burlesque models and creatives and tattoo artists and stuff like that. So it was a bit more alternative, I guess, than it is now. But yeah, that was the sort of original pitch, and we were sort of travelling around, and because I was I was like 24 at the time, and we got a lot of support because obviously with me having cerebral palsy as well, people got behind that. And then when I went to interview bands, like when I went into interview like my bands I grew up loving, like Placebo and Incubus and those types of bands, that people would actually talk to me, and people would get to know me, and that's how it kind of snowballed. So yeah man, like we just made a lot of friends, and we've got loads of PR companies behind us, and people have got behind us a lot. Like people do let us create some really good content, and it's been a dream because I've actually over recent years, a lot of people from the Warren, a lot of young people from the Warren have come on board and done interviews for us, and and got to travel around as well. So there's plenty of amazing opportunities always for people at the Warren and young people in general to support, because basically we've ended up working with universities, colleges, and some schools as well, providing internships and work placements for young students. So basically what started as a student project for me ended up being something that has now gone on to help other people and gone on to inspire other people, which is a wonderful privilege. Like I say, I've been able to travel to festivals all around the country and all around the world, and now we can provide the opportunity for that. But it basically started because I wanted to build something for the north of England and basically create a platform for artists and bands from like key areas like Leeds, Hull, Sheffield, York, Manchester, who didn't necessarily have access to music press and didn't have the support I had. Like I say, I got a lot of support because of my disability, because I was young. My family always got behind me and stuff. People were really behind me, which is great. And I recognised that not a lot of people get to do that. Not a lot of people have that. So what I wanted to do was try and create opportunities and try and support people that didn't have, people offering funding, or they didn't have, mates or family members or whatever behind them. And I wanted to be that person to try and offer that support. And that's kind of how it snowballed, and that's how we've ended up travelling around, and that's how we've ended up getting the funding, and that's how we've ended up having the support we do, and it's gone on to, I won a national diversity award for entrepreneurial excellence. I was one of the 100 happiest people in the country like 5 years ago. I'm miserable now, according to the Independent on Sunday. So stuff like that's happened off the back of it, which is amazing and something I could never have dreamed of achieving. But it's very much about the young people that now engage with us and from across the country. So we work with like York St John's, we've done stuff with Hull College, University of Central Lancashire, University of Chester, Leeds, Beckett. So yeah, kind of across the board really, and there are opportunities. People just need to email me, and yeah, we can work with bands across the board really. So like I say, as long as it's planned, and as long as we work together, it's very much a collaborative project. Usually there's some really cool opportunities available for people. So yeah, that's the best thing about the job, is that I've allowed other people, through living my own dream, I've allowed other people to do that as well.
Cool. So after over 10 years of basically developing this brand and building Soundsphere, what are some of the more sort of challenging moments that you've had when starting out and along the way as well?
Yeah, man. If I'm being honest, there's been a lot of challenging moments. I think when we started out it was quite easy because, like I say, I ticked a lot of boxes, if I'm honest, for a lot of people, with my disability, with my cerebral palsy, and with, kind of being younger. Sort of early 20s and stuff, a lot of people got behind it, so that was really good when we started out. A lot of people were loving it, and I think just maintaining funding and getting people to invest in the project. We started off being having clubs and bars, and people invest in us, then university institutions and stuff, and now we do a lot with advertorial, with clothing companies, shoe companies, etc. So yeah, it's just maintaining it and making it generate an income so that we can provide opportunities, paid opportunities. That's one of the things that I was lucky enough to sort of have the opportunity to do, was go and do internships. I worked at Metal Hammer and I worked at NME, and it actually led to work with different types of magazines. I worked for the Metro newspaper, and I've done loads of different freelance work. I got back, before I moved back to Hull, I was working and living in Boston, Massachusetts, working for MIT as a journalist in residence. So there's different opportunities that have come from Soundsphere, and I guess maintaining constant income and stuff, because anything I've worked for my freelance work has gone back into Soundsphere, making sure the site looks cool and is easy to manage, because once somebody comes as is part of our team, they're part of the family, and you can speak to people that have been at the Warren, that have worked with us. I try and get everyone involved and allow everyone to be a part of it and stuff. So I guess the biggest challenge has been making sure it generates income, and also is a valuable resource to PR companies, and hopefully people do, people still like it. Hopefully the reputation is good, and I think that's the big thing, is because we're not 80% of our industry is London based, and I would always say to any emerging journalist to go down to London and move down there if you can for a bit. One of our best writers who came from the Warren, and my connections at the Warren, is now living down there. She's from Scunthorpe, and is now doing some stuff with DIY, off the back of her work with us. So yeah, it's hard, but because I had family down there, and because I was able to live down there for a bit in London, I was able to get my foot in the door, and there's not a lot of people that can afford to do that. So I guess it's for me, starting out, it was just traveling all the time, going to London, living, and working for nothing, and building my reputation. And then kind of since then it's been maintaining a decent enough reputation that people want to give us interviews with top level bands. I've interviewed members of Slipknot, I've interviewed Youngblood, who's obviously a lad from Doncaster doing really well now. There's a couple of examples like that across the board. If you want to check the site out, we've done we've worked with Royal Blood, we've worked with wrestlers like Ric Flair and Mick Foley, if you're into that. So it's about kind of maintaining enough of a good reputation that people like the Warren want to work with us, and people like people representing different bands want to work with us and stuff. So that's the big thing, is maintaining the reputation. And fundamentally, if I'm being really honest, sometimes it's quite hard for me to get up in the morning. I go through a certain degree of I struggle sometimes to get up because of my disability and stuff, and it's sort of maintaining the motivation through the connections that I have and through the friendships I have with people like yourself. And the young people that I meet at the Warren and get to work with, and the bands I get to speak to for the site, that's what kind of motivates me, because sometimes it can be a bit of a slog, but there's lots of really good people around and lots of really cool creatives in the city, musical collectives, etc., that motivate me to keep going. So there's been some challenges, but there's so much more triumphs and stuff where we've seen people go on to to their dream jobs through working with us, and it's been, like I say, a dream come true. But like anything, a dream come true comes with loads of hard work. But there's so much more to it. But I'll try and keep it short and simple. But yeah, that's a few things for sure.
So obviously throughout the years you've had some amazing opportunities to interview some amazing talent, ranging from early Leeds Fest bands like Hadouken, underground alternative stuff like Scroobius Pip, even worldwide known bands like The Used, Muck Busted, Joey Jordison from Slipknot. I was just wondering what some of the more creative, rememberable conversations that you've had with performers are over the past. Do any stand out to you?
Yeah, sure, man. So yeah, there's been quite a few. Obviously, like we've interviewed like Rammstein. That was weird because I did that with a German translator, because not all of them are great English. Judas Priest was great. Rob Halford's a lovely man. Obviously, I grew up on metal. Sort of in terms of popular culture, I love. I grew up on wrestling. So Mick Foley, Mankind, Ric Flair, Kurt Angle. Those types of guys. Pete Dunne, who's obviously doing really well at the minute on wrestling. Stuff like that. And then Dynamo the Magician. We just talked about Yorkshire all the time. Busted on a pop level. So I've worked with people across the board really. And basically this used to be an excuse for me to go to stuff for free and get drunk with rock stars, but then it became something much more. It became an opportunity to take the knowledge I had and the fortunate very very cool contacts that we do have, and offer that to other people. A lot of the times, like with some of the bands that I've brought up before, a lot of the times, a lot of the bigger interviews we've done with, like, say, Kat Von D, other people have done, Frank Turner's another example. Other people have done where I haven't actually been there, and I've offered that opportunity to other people, because for me there's no real value in this unless I can create opportunities for others, and fortunately we've been able to do that with a lot of people from the Warren who have been in touch with some of these bands and then gone on to forward their career. I've trusted them and I've valued them because they come from such a cool, nurturing environment, a cool creative environment. We're able to work together and do some really cool stuff. But there's been quite a few rock and roll stories which I can't really say, but I'll tell you when we're next out in Hull when this is all over. But there's been a few, some quite weird ones. But there's some amazing bands, obviously, and amazing opportunities I never thought I'd get to do, like Joey from Slipknot, or Taylor Momsen from The Pretty Reckless, who's obviously a great actor, a great actress, and Gary Newman was crazy because I grew up on electronic music, and I make electronic music under the name Dom Sith, and also in a band called Mary and the Ram, which is directly inspired by Gary, so that was huge for me. So yeah, there's so many examples there of stuff. You know, to interview Youngblood, who's obviously coming up, is a great shout. You know, and to be able to sort of be on the cusp of those bands breaking out, like Royal Blood, who've done really well, and you know, sort of yeah, and also to support bands from Hull like Life, who are doing incredibly well, and be a part of their growth and development, as well as numerous other, you know, now renowned bands that are headlining, you know, festivals. Asking Alexandria is of course another one, Shikari, Skin Dread, they've all been on our print magazines when we had a print publication as well. So, you know, there's countless examples, but you know, there's no point in any of that unless I can share it with cool creative people like yourself and the Warren Youth Project. So, but yeah, there's quite a few stories.
Off the back of that question, in rapid fire, can you give us your top 3 favourite bands and musicians of all time?
Oh mate, that's a big one. Okay, so I grew up on loving, you know, Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails and Placebo. I've had the opportunity to work with different members of all of those bands. One of my rock and roll stories actually involves Marilyn Manson that I can't tell you here. But I'll tell you at some point. The Placebo team and the management were always lovely to me. Incubus is another, they're probably my favourite band of all time, and I've spoken to them a couple of times, and I've actually, again, one of our best writers spoke to them last time, so that was a cool opportunity to be able to share the love of Incubus with another kind of cool writer. So yeah, there's a few there. Yeah, Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails, Placebo, Incubus. There are countless more, obviously, but yeah, those are just a few for you.
So, having personally got to know you quite well over the past year or so, your positivity and your work ethic and your creativity kind of stands out to me amongst the rest. I'm well aware that a lot of young people kind of struggle with motivation, inspiration, and creativeness kind of these days. So I was wondering if you could shed a little bit of light on where your main source of creativity comes from, and what keeps you ticking, what keeps you focused.
Oh man, that's so nice of you to say. Thank you so much. Well, that's a big part of what motivates me as well. So, like I said to you earlier, sometimes I do struggle. I go through a degree of pain every day and stuff, and sometimes I find it difficult to get out. But when I go to spaces like the Warren or get to travel around to different universities and meet students that way and work with young people and stuff and create opportunities and teams, you know, and build a project together with people, that's what I love the most. So I guess, you know, one of the things I actually came back to the country for, you know, when I was in the US, was to do some stuff with the Warren, and to be able to do that and, you know, kind of, you know, make the media room look cool, and then, you know, come and do some stuff with you guys, which I'm really looking forward to after this is over, coming back in. That motivates me a lot. I would say meeting people, collaborating, you know, building stuff together, you know. I'm always coming up with new ideas to work with people, because that's what motivates me. That is what keeps me going, because yeah, sometimes it is a struggle, and you know, so, you know, like I say, you know, I'm very lucky that I do have good friends, and there are a lot of good friends and wonderful young people I've met at the Warren who have a great network themselves, and it's usually, you know, in that space that they find that. You know, musicians and artists and creatives from all over the country, not just Hull. You know, I've got a record label called Man Demolish Records, and we work with like Hull bands like New Meds, who are doing amazing things now. Waste of Paint as well is another one from the new Anonymous label that I have, and we're always collaborating on stuff. Obviously, I'm in bands as well. And I'm always trying to come up with musical projects, just because that's where I get my drive from, is from creating cool ideas with really, really cool people. And fortunately, you know, people like yourself, mate, you've been one of the bigger motivations I've had over the last year. You know, I walk into that new music team, you know, Scott, End of Level Baddie is another great example. All of that team, you know, all of you guys motivate me a lot. You know, Faye is another great example. There are so many people. Ryan and Elle, you know, it's just a great space to be in, really. But yeah, man, like, you know, meeting people, meeting bands, meeting students and young people that want to work with us, and yeah, dude, that's what gets me up in the morning and makes me tick and makes me kind of carry on, because like I say, there is a lot of challenges there, and sometimes it is pretty tough, but man, like, you know, I get to live my dream, and I get to, you know, work with people while I do it, you know, and that's where it comes from, man. The drive is is the motivation is people, and that sounds really cheesy, but I know that there are young people in the Warren that find that too, and that go to that space to collaborate with yourselves and come up with ideas, and that's very much a similar ethos to what Soundsphere is built on fundamentally, because I love working with people and creating opportunities and building cool ideas and stuff. Yeah.
So you strike me as somebody who lives life to the fullest, seizing like every opportunity that kind of comes your way. Something a little bit different, I've done a bit of digging on your social media and found some pictures that I think need a little bit of a more explanation. So I was wondering if you could just give me the backstory on some of these pictures. Right, so here we've got you crossing the finish line in style. What's going on here?
Oh man, yeah, that's the York 10K. I ran, or wobbled rather, the York 10K to raise money for Jane Tomlinson a number of years ago. My sister Bertie came along with me. It was a challenge. I didn't even finish last. Actually, there was a lovely old couple just behind me. But yeah, that was really cool, and I'm really proud of that one.
So yeah, there's that positivity that I'm always talking about. Where are you here, and why are you so excited?
Oh man, that was the Immortal Bar in Bangkok. My band, the Parcel Twins, are about to go and play with some other amazing bands from the UK and from Bangkok. The Immortal Bar is a really cool venue, and they were very, very good to us. But yeah, that was one of the greatest moments of me being in a band for sure, and being in the Parasite Twins.
Alright, and lastly, this is just your current profile picture. Is there anything cool that you can tell us about it?
Oh, dude, what a beautiful memory. Yeah, so I get to go to the US quite a lot for work and pleasure, and I've always wanted to go to Seattle, and I had the opportunity last year. I'm a huge sort of alternative rock fan, and I grew up on those types of bands. Nirvana is a great example of that. And so I got to actually go around Seattle with Tiffany, who's an incredible photographer, and she wanted to document my travels over there, and took an incredible series of shots for me. So thank you very much, Tiffany Tompkinson, and I think she goes by Centerpoint Photography if you're in the US and in Seattle, or you want to bring her over here to travel. But yeah, she's an incredible photographer, and it was great to sort of have a tour of Seattle and see one of the places I'd always wanted to go. It was a bucket list destination for me, and it was lovely to have Tiffany make me look way cooler than I actually am.
So I hope that wasn't too embarrassing for you. Just a couple more questions to go. What kind of advice can you give young people wanting to branch out or start out in the creative world? So whether it be an artist, a musician, maybe they want to start their own company or go freelance, what advice can you give them?
Oh man, that's a big one. That's the age-old one, isn't it? I think if we start with the Warren, obviously, people that want to be musicians, they can use the studio. I think it's about connecting with the resources around you. If you want to be a spoken word poet or artist, you can use the Warren and the creative workshops that you guys offer. So there's great space in the Warren to do that. And I think it's about connecting. It's about also being aware of your strengths, but also your weaknesses. So for example, I'm a trained journalist, but there are things that I'm not great at, and there are better writers, for example, and people that I've discovered at the Warren that are now part of Soundsphere and part of my team. There are, I've got people that manage the website for me because I'm not great on web stuff. There are people that help me promote our work because I'm so busy doing the admin stuff. That's just me. But yes, I have a very clear idea of your strengths but also your weaknesses, and don't be afraid to admit them, because then you can find somebody else who's great. That you can find somebody else who's fantastic at networking and building stuff, and then you can, for example, you might be a tech person, so you might be great at web stuff and web design, but you might need someone to help you promote stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with getting a mate to help you with marketing or photography or whatever. That, in fact, is for me personally the basis of good project work and good business and anything band stuff. There's great networks in Hull, a bit of shameless self-promotion for our Forever Underdogs collective. Without even naming names, I can tell, they will know watching this who I mean. There are great people in the city who are building punk scenes, building indie scenes and rock scenes. So, a lot of those people are already in bands, and that's okay, because just because they're in bands doesn't mean they can't help you find what you're looking for in a band. Be very clear in terms of being a musician what your influences are when you want to form something, and what you want to do, so that you can then take that to other people and share your vision. And don't be afraid, of course, to collaborate. Don't be afraid, of course, to let other people in, because that's how ideas grow and develop. Soundsphere started like as an excuse for me to get drunk and go to stuff for free, and then I realised there was a gap there for me to support people that didn't have, that couldn't afford to live down in London and couldn't afford to move there and do, and take advantage of those great opportunities that are there for the people that can. But I recognise that I can't do this myself. I need writers, I need creatives to help me build it and help it become bigger, really. So I think it's always about the network and the creativity. And if you struggle with anxiety, that's a big deal. That's okay. The internet is a wonderful thing. You can still build those networks through social media and social networks, and you can still create stuff. I would very much encourage you, if you struggle with anxiety and whatever else that you might be dealing with, and you find it difficult to meet people face to face and have that interaction. That's okay. That's absolutely fine. People are only ever an email away or whatever. However you want to connect, there will be a way in this time, and there will be people 100%, especially now, people want stuff to do, people want to create stuff. There's a great network of people out there for you that will share your idea. You just have to have the drive. I think the most prominent lesson I've ever learned is no one's gonna do it for you. That's the thing. You can't really wait for people to do it for you. You have to be the driving force, and then you get the right people involved, and then they help you, they share stuff, they collaborate, and they build you up. So when you're struggling, they will build you up and they will push you in ways like my friends and networks like the Warren have been able to do. When I've not been feeling great, people have helped me see the value in what I do, and I think that's the great value in having a network and networking as a whole. So I guess in short, build a network wherever that might be, online, out in the world, in real life. Build a network and build something cool just by sharing ideas and being open and supporting. Don't forget as well, as much as you want people to support you're doing, support what everybody else is doing, help other people. That's how businesses like ours work, is we do a lot to fingers crossed people like what we do, but we do a lot to help others, and that's a big part. So as much as people help us and help me, I try and help out as well. And like I say, that's a big part of it, is collaborate, network, help others, be nurturing if you can, put yourself out and try and support others in whatever way you can, and they will support you, they will help you, they will be more inclined to invest in you in whatever way that might be, personally, professionally, or otherwise. I hope that answers the question. That's probably quite long-winded.
And lastly, finally got there. What is your next big adventure? What's your next big thing you've got kind of going on in your life? I know you're always busy working away behind the scenes on whether it's Soundsphere or wobbling about, rocking out, blogging. We've got Forever Underdogs. Your fingers are in all the pies. I'm just wondering what the next big thing is for you. Plug yourself.
Oh man, yeah. So with Soundsphere, there's always stuff, man. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I love it. It's intense though, even now, because nothing, most of my work is digital, so nothing stops, even for lockdown. So I'm working on stuff all the time. We've got some really cool interviews coming up, which I can't tell you about because they're in the pipeline, but keep your eye on the brand new Soundsphere site, which has been developed over lockdown. Talking about that, we do lockdown sessions now, live stream sessions, so numerous bands are coming together to perform on the Facebook, facebook.com/SoundsphereMag. We're raising money for NHS charities together while the lockdown is on and while the pandemic exists. We'll be consistently through weekdays and weekends doing live streams for Soundsphere, which is cool, so keep an eye on them because there's some amazing bands we've had support what we're doing. There's also, I'm talking about going back out on tour in Europe with the Parcel Twins next year. So that's already in the pipeline. We're working on new music with my post-punk kind of goth band Mary and the Ram, so that's dead excited. I've got a few travel plans again for next year, which I'm really excited about, which hopefully they'll come off, but they'll all kind of have stuff to do with Soundsphere, so keep an eye again on the site and the social media. There's tons of stuff, man. Looking forward to Forever getting back together, putting on some stuff with Forever Underdogs in Hull, and yeah, in terms of plugging myself, please do come and get involved. We are offering opportunities for people to get creative and come up with ideas and keep themselves busy during the lockdown. So if anybody watches this or listens to it, whatever, and wants to get involved with Soundsphere, check us out on social media, drop me an email. The new team have my details. We can offer creative opportunities, journalism experience. We've got a spoken word avenue of stuff we go down. Obviously I offer support to bands and stuff who want to promote their work. So yeah, anything during this time, if you want to get creative, come and be a part of that, and I will, like my other website's namesake, we've got some really cool motivational stories of people doing really cool stuff on wobbling about and rocking out. And on that note, I will continue to wobble about and rock out, and I will see you guys again soon. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. Cheers.
So that was my interview with the legend that is Dom Smith. If you didn't catch my videos from last week, I will put that on the screen right now. And I will be back with you next week for some more great content. In the meantime, stay safe, stay well, stay indoors, and I'll catch you on the flip.